Welcome to Stetson Law Live with your host, Dean Michael Allen. Our topic today, Introduction to the Upper Level Curriculum.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us to talk about the upper level curriculum. This is our first year that we're trying to do this academic advising fair in a way that's going to be more useful to you as students. First of all, this is going to provide you some information about the upper level curriculum, about clinics and internships. I'll describe that in a moment. But we are going to have 2 sessions of a live academic advising fair, which you have been told about. And they're going to be on both October 19th and October 20th. The October 19th date is a Monday, and it'll be from 11:30 to 1 in the Great Hall. We'll provide food. And also on Tuesday, October 20th, from 4:30 to 6:30, also in the Great Hall, and I think we'll also have some food there as well. And you probably have gotten this card, which I'm holding up, which is your passport in a way, your train ticket. And so during the course of today's broadcast, we're going to be giving you 4 letters at different points in time. And those letters will be something that you can actually put down on this card so that you can then establish that you were here. And then we're going to have some wonderful prizes that you can win if you fill out enough of the card along the way. And if you want more information about the Stetson Stamps program, you can email career@law.stetson.edu, and they'll give you all the information. So here's what we're going to talk about roughly today, and as I say, we really encourage your questions. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the requirements for graduation, something that is probably of some passing interest to at least some of you. I'll mention a little bit about the various concentration programs that we have here and how that works. We'll give you some thoughts about course sequencing, not that those are magic things, but thinking about which goes first and which goes second can be pretty helpful. We're then going to talk a little bit about clinical education as well as externship programs that we have here at the College of Law. And we'll also talk about course bidding, a process that, as I described to Ms. McCaster, our registrar, is a bit mysterious to me, but she will be able to tell us all the answers for that. And so I want to try to introduce the people I'm here with. And so first we have our registrar, Felicia McCaster. Felicia.
Good morning.
My colleague, Professor Finch, who's also serving as the Interim Director of Academic Success.
Good morning.
And then my colleague, Professor Batt, who is the Director of Clinical Education, and you'll hear from all of them.
Good morning.
But I'm going to start out, and I'm going to talk a little bit about graduation checklists. So you can go, and I did it just this morning, and if I can do it, trust me, all of you can do it too, although I confess I had Ms. McCaster's help to actually do this. But this is a graduation checklist that is on the web and is actually displayed up here at this magic moment. And what you want to do is, first of all, you can do some of this yourself, but then you'd want to double check it with the people in the registrar's office who will sit down and go through and make sure that you have all the requirements set. So let me just walk you through what those requirements are. So first of all, you don't have to worry about taking your first year classes. Those are the required classes. We will make sure you have done that. And so you don't have to worry about that. That is your contracts towards, etc. But I do want to focus on the requirements that go beyond that, because this is where you're going to have some choices in what you do. So first of all, we have a number of what we call area requirements. And they are the administrative law requirement, the code requirement, the experiential learning requirement, and the writing requirement. You have to make sure that you satisfy all of them, and these are not options. So much like if you want to score a run in baseball, you have to hit first, second, third, and home. If you want to score the graduation here at Stetson, you got to hit all 4 of these. And what the graduation checklist provides is the list of courses that satisfies all of the, or that satisfies each of the requirements. So for example, you can look at the administrative law requirement, and you can see the courses that satisfy that requirement. Same thing with the code requirement, same thing with the experiential learning, as well as the writing requirement. And so what you want to do is, as you're planning out your arc of time before you graduate, you want to be thinking about getting those requirements done along the way. Now, in terms of the experiential learning requirement, there's a special requirement there, which is that if you have started in the fall of 2015, so for first-year students who might be watching this, you're going to have to take 6 credits of experiential learning in order to graduate. That's a new ABA requirement applicable to the entering class in fall 2015. If you are any other student here at the College of Law, other than entering in fall 2015, you have to still satisfy the experiential learning requirement, which you do by taking 1 class that's listed on the checklist. I want to spend a second, though, talking to you about the upper-level writing requirement. The best way to satisfy that requirement is actually to take a seminar. Now, you can also satisfy it in a couple of other ways. So, for example, if you're on law review and you write a note, that will satisfy it, and that's excellent, too. You can satisfy the requirement by doing an independent research project. But I would strongly urge you to consider taking a seminar. A seminar is a much better way to actually work through the upper-level writing requirement. It provides you structure, it takes a course across the semester, and you can pick a course that might interest you. So, for example, one of the courses that's on the spring schedule in 2016, spring 2016, is the election law seminar. That might be a fantastic time to take it, considering it's going to be a presidential election year in 2016. And there are a whole host of seminars that we would have during the year, ranging from international law seminars to law and poetry with Professor Adams. So my point is, you can actually satisfy the requirement while you're actually learning about an area of the law that is exciting for you. Now, before we go on, I just want to highlight some of the materials that are going to be on the spring schedule. You can see the current version of the spring schedule up on Banner now. There will be some changes over the next couple of weeks before bidding begins. Ms. McCaster will describe that process. And so you should start to take a look at this. We also hope that we're going to have a draft of at least the fall 2016 schedule out at the time you're bidding, so that you're going to be able to make some informed choices about how this goes. But I just want to highlight some of the different and unique classes that we have. So one of the classes that we're offering for the first time is from Professor Morrissey. And Professor Morrissey is going to do this class called The Documents of the Deal. And basically, this is a class that's a hands-on class. It's going to be taught in Tampa. It's going to be taught with people coming in from large law firms in Tampa. They'll be practicing lawyers that will be part of the course. And it will be taking you through the transactional documents of a deal, how you actually put it together, how the law fits in with the facts. This is something Professor Morrissey did in practice for a number of years, and this is a fantastic course, a fantastic experiential learning class. Sticking with some of our transactional curriculum again, we are also very lucky for the second year in a row to have a course taught here on the Gulfport campus called Mergers and Acquisitions. It's, as you might guess, about corporate mergers and acquisitions, but it's taught by the General Counsel of TECO Energy, a company that is actually in the process of being acquired, if you've been following that in the newspaper. So if you want to get a very practical, on-the-ground approach to commercial transactions, which are corporate transactions, I would definitely recommend that. Again, sticking with our transactional curriculum, Professor Batt is actually going to be teaching a course in business ethics again in the spring. Fantastic way to take your professional responsibility learning and And as Emeril Lagasse, the famous chef, says, kick it up a notch. And you can learn about this in the context of transactional practice. We also have a tremendous number of opportunities for you to engage in a course that I know Professor Finch might be talking about, and that is criminal procedure. And I want to spend a moment on that because some of this can be confusing. We actually have 3 different courses in criminal procedure that are going to be taught in the spring. And I want to tell you a little bit about what each one is so you can make an informed decision. One is a course called Criminal Procedure Investigation. What that course is essentially the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments. Searches and seizures, right to counsel, the right against self-incrimination. This is the constitutional component of criminal procedure. A second class is Criminal Procedure Adjudication. What that is what in my law school we call bail to jail, which is basically the rules of criminal procedure in the federal courts from the time you have to be arraigned all the way through trial. And then we have a parallel course called Florida Criminal Procedure, and that is the bail to jail component in the Florida state court system. And we have quite a lineup of people teaching these courses. We offer them both in the day and in the evening. So in addition to some of our faculty members here, Professor Podgore, for example, and Professor Flowers, who will be teaching criminal procedure, and Professor Jacob, actually. We also, in the evening on the Gulfport campus, have criminal procedure investigation taught by United States Magistrate Judge Tom McCown, who's fantastic. And then we're going to have 2 sections of Florida criminal procedure offered on the Tampa campus, both by judges, one of them in the evening, and the other one we're going to try an experiment. This is either going to work really well or I'm going to have to cancel a class, but that's okay. We're going to try with Judge Ashley Moody, who's a state court judge, to actually have a daytime class on the Tampa campus during lunch hour. It would meet 3 days a week from 12:05 to 12:55. And so that would allow a student who works during the day in Tampa but can take a slightly longer lunch, maybe 5 minutes before 12 to 5 minutes after, to actually get that class. It would allow a full-time student who happens to be working in Tampa during a day or maybe at an internship to be able to take that class. So this is an experiment we're going to try on one of these really important courses, in this case, Florida criminal procedure. We're also really excited that we're going to have an assistant United States attorney who's going to be teaching a course in electronic discovery. We also have other technology-related courses that I'd encourage you to think about. And so I want you to look over the schedule when it comes out, because there's lots of really exciting things there. And then you want to be thinking about how it is you sequence those classes along the way. And I'm going to spend my last minute just talking about that. So you want to think about the fact that if you are interested, as Professor Batt's going to talk to you about in a moment, doing clinics or externships, one of the things that you want to think about is, particularly for many clinics, public defender, state prosecutor clinics, you're going to need to take those criminal procedure courses before you actually take the clinic. That means that's not a good course to save to your 3rd year. You want to do that in your 2nd year. Also, evidence. You need to take evidence sometime before you graduate. It would be an excellent idea to take that in your 2nd year because many clinics require that as well. And on evidence, you want to think about, do you want to take it standing alone, or do you want to take it in a way that we get to offer it, which is tethered? That means matched with a trial ed section, so you could take evidence and trial ed at the same time. So certainly if you're interested in clinics, and we want you to do that, right? We want you to go out and get that experience. Building your 2nd year schedule so that it includes evidence and criminal procedure as well as trial ed will be really useful to you in terms of trying to place yourself in a clinic down the road. So we really encourage you to take a look at the at the schedule and plan yourself down the road, you can come and talk to me, Miss McCaster, Professor Batt, Professor Finch. All of us would be willing to talk about those issues with you. All right, so before I turn it over to Professor Finch, I feel like a game show host. I wish I was up there being able to turn around the letter, but I get to tell you the first secret letter for you to write down, and that letter is C, as in curriculum. So at this point, I was going to turn it over to Professor Finch to talk a little bit about bar preparation and as well as the academic success program. Professor Finch?
One of the questions that students often consider when they're choosing their electives is the approaching bar exam. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how the approaching bar exam and your preparation for it should influence or not your choice of elective courses. Now, of course, preparing for the bar exam should be an important concern for you because on average, our students pass the bar at a rate of 75 to 85%. On the last exam, 25% of our students didn't pass the bar, and obviously that has significant consequences for your future, your immediate future, and so you don't want to fail the bar exam. At the same time, you have to give some thought to how best to prepare for the bar exam, and for our purposes, focus on whether the choices you make and the courses you elect to take is going to have an impact on whether you pass the bar exam. So to understand that, I'd like to show you what is going to be on the bar exam. And here I'll need to ask, there we go. You probably can't read that, and you don't need to read it. It's mainly there to have a visual effect, and that is look at all the subjects that the bar examiners expect you to know when you enter into the bar exam and take that 2-day test. You can see it's an extensive list of subjects, roughly 20 subjects on Florida law. The bar exam is a 2-day exam. The first day, you're going to write 3 one-hour essays on a variety of topics. The bar does not announce ahead of time what topics are going to be examined. And the second part of the first day, when you're being tested on Florida law, you're going to write the answer to some 90 multiple choice questions. So, as you can see from that list alone, if you wanted to build your curriculum around bar preparation, you probably could fill every open slot you have with some course that is related to what's going to be tested on the bar. Now, regarding the second part of the bar exam, which is the multi-state part, this is the test that is administered on the second day of the bar exam, and currently it covers 7 subjects: federal civil procedure, federal constitutional law, and then the multi-state law, meaning kind of the prevailing rules throughout the United States on a variety of other subjects like contracts, torts, and the like. Well, again, you can see this is a very sweeping set of topics. And yet again, you can see how if you wanted to build your curriculum around the single-minded goal of passing the bar, you probably wouldn't have much time left for anything else. And so, kind of to summarize the main points I'd like to convey to you, you want to take the bar exam very seriously and prepare for it. But you don't want to really squander your opportunities in your second and third year of study by enrolling in courses simply because they're tested on the bar. We have done some research, and professors at other schools have done some research, and it indicates that simply by taking a lot of courses whose subject matter is tested on the bar exam doesn't have much, if any, effect on your ultimate success on the exam. This is contrary to a lot of the informal wisdom that you'll hear on campus, where you're often going to be encouraged to take courses because they're tested on the bar exam. But that wisdom really isn't backed up by the existing research we have. So the first point is, don't build your curriculum, your elective courses around the bar exam. It may not have any effect on your success. And worse, it's going to get in your way of taking courses that interest you and that prepare you for the kind of practice you want to enter into. Okay, that said, what curriculum choices might you make that intelligently take advantage of our course offerings without overwhelming your curriculum with a bunch of bar preparation? Well, currently at Stetson, or at least currently for those of you who are going to be making course choices in the coming semesters, we have a course called MultiState Strategies, in which Professor Guzman, over the course of 4 hours, introduces you to all these 7 multi-state subjects that are tested the second day of the exam. And in that course, you will answer more than 100 multiple choice questions on these topics, after which they'll be reviewed by Professor Guzman. That's a course worth taking. And preferably, you should take it by, say, your last semester or no sooner than your next to last semester so that you retain what you've learned. In addition, we have a couple of new offerings that build upon former offerings we have, and I'm not sure that these titles for the courses are reflected in our course information yet, but these are handy ways to think of them. One is a survey of Florida law, where we have the students each week write an essay on a topic that's often tested on the bar exam. We have those essays graded by someone who spent 10 years writing answers for the bar exam and grading them, and we give you an individual review of your performance, and we discuss your performance or the class's performance in our classroom itself. That is extremely valuable because you learn in that course what the examiners are looking for when you write your essays, and you'll find that it's quite different from what most of your professors are looking for. Now, in addition to this Florida survey course, where you'll get very extensive practice in writing essay answers in the manner called for on the bar exam, we have a second course that we're repackaging for the spring, and which I'm referring to as Survey of Florida Law 2, though it may eventually go by a different name. In that course, we're going to focus on those subjects that are tested by multiple choice questions in the second half of the day of the Florida portion of the exam. And in those courses, you're going to be answering probably 200-300 multiple choice questions over the course of the semester. We're going to grade them, we're going to review them, and so we're going to give you some advanced introduction to what are sometimes hyper-technical materials that the bar examiners expect you to know about. So, the bar exam and your preparation for it should be taken very seriously, but it shouldn't lead to the bar exams overwhelming your curriculum choices. To the contrary, if you take 2 or 3 of these courses that are particularly geared to bar preparation, and you take a commercial bar preparation course, you should be in good shape for the bar exam. So our best advice is be selective in choosing courses based upon the goal of passing the bar exam, and otherwise pursue what interests you and what's going to be valuable to your career.
So, Professor Finch, we had a question come in from the excitingly named Stetson University College of Law Hatter 006, which sounds like a special agent with Bond. But Agent 006 would like to know if they should take bar-tested courses. Should they wait to their 3rd year? What do you think
Yes,
about
I would
that?
recommend you do. Again, don't let your enrollment in a bar preparation course get in the way of your taking courses that interest you or are important to your intended practice area. But yes, the closer to the time when you'll be taking the bar exam, the more you're likely to retain when you take those courses. So certainly in your 3rd year, not in your 2nd. And if it works with your other course selections, the semester before you graduate.
Well, thanks a lot. And so
right.
before I turn this over to Professor Batt, at this point, I have 2 things to do. First, I get to flip another letter for you. The letter is X, as in xylophone, which has nothing to do with curriculum, but there we go. So the letter is X. And one thing that will lead into something that Professor Batt is going to talk about that I should have mentioned about graduation and the importance of that is that in order to graduate, just like having to take 88 credit hours, you need to complete your pro bono requirement. It's quite stunning to me that I forgot to say that given the amount of time I spend on pro bono. The requirement is that you must complete 60 hours of pro bono and public service by the time you graduate. Actually, you need to complete it prior to the beginning of the semester in which you will graduate. So if you are hearing my voice and you think you are graduating in May 2016, that means you need to be complete with this pro bono this semester. Or Professor Vaughn or Dean Vaughn will track you down. But it really is actually quite important. And you need to have at least 30 of those hours be legal pro bono. And as Professor Batt's going to talk about, there are some connections between that pro bono and what we might do in clinical education. So, Professor Batt.
Thank you. And thank you for the plug about business ethics. I value that. One of the charges for clinical education is to embed students in practice situations. So we are focused more on getting you away from the law school as opposed to what you're doing here. Clinical courses are experiential opportunities for credit that allow you to work with other lawyers, with clients, prepare documents, do the work that lawyers do. You'll be working outside of the law school, as I said, and we have two types of clinical courses at Stetson. The first is called externships. We're shifting from the term internship to externship. So if you have friends at other schools that talk about their externship programs, you know that they're talking about what we have been calling internships. These are courses that give you a wide range of opportunity to experience and observe lawyers in very different practice areas. So you can, as an example, be with the in-house counsel externship program under Dean Radwin and work in corporations all across the Tampa Bay area. You could also work with the family law internship and work with families that are in distress, victims of domestic violence, helping lawyers do what they do. You could have a judicial internship in federal court, trial court, Florida trial court, Florida appellate court, and work in the role of an assistant or even as an intern to the judge. So there are many, many different things to do. The externships are variable credits, so they will either offer 3 or 4 credits. We currently require 40 hours per credit, so for a 3-credit course, you will be dedicating 120 hours. Externships also are distinguished at Stetson because we have full-time faculty that supervise these externships. And you have the involvement of your faculty that allows you to step away from the workplace and critique what you are doing, not only what you're doing, but what does this work mean in the overall examination and exploration of the legal system and the context of what it means to be a lawyer. We also have clinics. Clinics are opportunities to actually function as a lawyer. You will be certified as a legal intern by the Florida Supreme Court, and this is a special admission to the bar, and you will be able to actually represent clients in court with this certification. So this is all focused on making you better lawyers, preparing you for practice. A clinic gives you several levels of supervision. You are working directly with adjunct professors who are the leaders in their office. So, for example, in the prosecution clinic in Pinellas County in the 6th Judicial Circuit, you are supervised by Fred Schaub, a senior assistant state attorney, and Bernie McCabe, who is the state attorney for that circuit. So these are real opportunities to appear as lawyers and function as lawyers and learn your craft. You have the opportunity to integrate everything you have learned in law school to date. So you are putting together the theory that you've learned in your doctrinal classes, the skills you've learned in trial advocacy and other skills courses, and now you're pulling it all together. Hopefully you're integrating the values that you've learned in professional responsibility and from your professors from day one, first year of law school. To go into a little bit more detail on the distinction between externships and clinics, you can always go to our website and look at the specific requirements. We have about 24 different externship programs that we offer each semester. We are currently offering 8 clinics, and they range from the Veterans Advocacy Clinic, which is on campus, and again, taught by a full-time tenure-track professor.
You've given her a promotion.
Yes, yes, Stacey Ray will be thrilled. Professor Simcox will like that. I should point out that clinics are a real commitment. They will award 5 credits. They require 200 hours of work throughout the semester. We expect that you will start first week of the semester and work approximately 16 to 17 hours throughout the semester. It varies depending on the needs of the work, and that emulates real practice in that sense. When you've got a hearing coming up, when there are documents due, you'll probably work more. Consider that time banked. If there's ever a situation where you need to slow down because of other commitments in your life.
And so we've got a couple of questions, Professor Pat, about the process for CLI clearance.
Yes.
When should you do that? And if you're not able to get your CLI clearance, are there still clinical options that might be available?
The externships do not require CLI, which is your certified legal intern status. The notice of clearance is the first step, and you should apply to the bar as soon as you possibly can, ideally during your first year before the first due date, which is
January 15th.
January 15th.
And we will pay.
Thank you.
We will pay for your fee to do that. If you do it in this first semester, because it is that important, it really makes a difference for a couple of reasons. One that Professor Batt is talking about. You're not going to have the full range of clinical options available to you if you don't get that. But second, trust me, if there is something in your past that is going to be a problem for the bar, it is not going to magically resolve itself if you pretend you're an ostrich and put your head in the sand. So you want to get that process going earlier rather than later. So there's just simply no reason to not do this, and we will pay the fee if I haven't mentioned that. Professor Batt.
This is really important. You want to make sure that you conform all of your applications, and you can cure things if you take action. I just told my professional responsibility class earlier that no decision for a client is actually a decision. It's a default decision, and the status quo remains. Here, no action is actually action to let something or allow something bad to grow and fester, and you don't want to do that. You want to cure any problems quickly and early.
Well, thank you. And before we go to a little video interlude here, just a couple of points. I do want to underscore the real importance of disclosure and accurate disclosure for the bar. If you have any questions about that, you should definitely make an appointment to see me. You want to be very careful that if you're going to make a disclosure, that it's going to match what you said to us when you applied, and if you didn't put it on the application, we can fix that. But you really want to be very careful about that now, because you don't want to turn a very little thing into a much bigger thing down the road. And second, before we turn this over to my colleague, Professor Bauer, I want to underscore that you can really dramatically affect people's lives by being in clinics. Number one, I happened to be in court the other day to meet with a judge and got to watch as 2 of the 3 state prosecutors in Hillsborough County were actually current Stetson students. They were fantastic. And second, we at the Veterans Clinic recently got an award of $200,000 for somebody who'd put his life on the line for all of our freedoms, and the students were able to actually perform that service to get that result. So I want to underscore what Professor Bat said.
Before we go to Professor Bauer, I just wanted to tie up 2 loose ends. One is that you will have an opportunity to earn 30 hours of pro bono credit for the public service that you do as being part of a clinic. This does not count for the Blues Award. It is not pure pro bono, but currently you will get that 30 hours of legal pro bono if you take a clinic before your last semester. Is that correct, Dean Allen?
That is.
All right. And one other point that everyone asks, the notice of registering clearance, which is extremely important, is the first step towards the CLI, but it is not the equivalent of the CLI. You have to go through yet another process once you're accepted into a clinic in order to get the CLI.
Thank you. And so I get to turn another letter. The third letter is G, as in gosh. First thing I thought of. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have a little video clip from Professor Mark Bauer. Professor Bauer has spent a good part of the last year and a half working with a team from our staff, faculty, and students, putting together a program of what we're going to call pathways, which might provide you, as Professor Bauer will describe, with some thoughts about how it is if you want to be hypothetically in the family law business. What do I take when? What kind of extracurricular opportunities are available to me? What types of clinics or internships would be best? And so Professor Bauer is going to explain to you that innovation that we'll be rolling out this year.
Hello, my name is Professor Mark Bauer, and I'm here to tell you about a very exciting new program called the Stetson Law Curriculum Navigator, or Navigator for short. The Navigator includes your pathways to practice. This is something that the faculty and staff have been working on for several years. It's taken a long time to pull it together, and it's not quite ready for prime time yet. We're going to be showing you a beta version of it. You can probably find it yourself on the website if you look around hard enough, but we're going to be rolling it out sometime in the next couple of weeks with a big splash and tell everyone it's available. And we're really proud of what this is going to do to help students help themselves to learn about the courses that they should be taking. When you go to the Navigator website, you're going to see the following pathways. These pathways represent not only the areas that students are most interested in, but these represent areas that employers are hiring, and we encourage you to look through them. Every single course in the entire course catalog is listed here. In fact, because many of our courses fit within different areas of interest, you'll see a lot of our courses listed multiple times. And that's okay, because it helps you see how different courses can advance you in different careers. Let me give you an example of how some of these work. Let's pick commercial law, for example. I go ahead and click on commercial law, and what you will see here are 3 phases. Phase 1 are core courses. These are the courses that we think are most important for this area of law, in this case, commercial law. You're not going to take every single one of them. There's not enough time in a 3-year law school career to take all of the courses. But if you want to really learn an area well, you're going to focus on those Phase 1 courses in your area of interest. Phase 2 courses are recommended courses. These are courses that we think are going to be a very useful adjunct to any of the pathways, and particularly if you've taken a bunch of the foundational courses and you want to take some more advanced courses to advance your knowledge and look into more specific areas of the law, the Phase 2 classes are going to be where you find them. And finally, in Phase 3, we have all of our experiential learning, seminars, internships, externships, and simulation courses. It's more than that, though. Let's take a look. So, for example, if you click on antitrust law, what you do is you get a pop-up that gives you what's in the course catalog. This explains to you exactly what the course is about. It tells you the number of credits, which actually is incorrect for antitrust law, but we're okay with that for now. It will tell you whether it's a core course, a recommended course, or an experiential course. And when it's working completely, it will tell you when the course is meeting. This allows you also to take notes. For example, I teach antitrust law, so you can take notes that say, never take Bauer. That would be an example of the type of notes you can take. But it's more than that. You can start clicking on the courses that you want to take, and all you have to do is then press print, and you're going to get a PDF that lists the courses that you want. And you can do this as many times as you want. We want you to play with this, look at all the different course combinations, think about all the different things you can take, see how the courses relate to each other, and it's also going to help you with the requirements, because courses are going to be noted as to whether they are, for example, a code course, or for example, whether a course fills the administrative law requirement. There's more information than that, though, in Pathways. What you will find in the Navigator are a list of faculty members that not only teach in the area, and this links to each of the faculty members' websites so you can learn more about them. Each faculty member who is listed here has agreed to be an advisor within this area. So don't just try and struggle through this on your own. If you're thinking about what courses to take and you have questions, you can go to any professor at any time, and we're all glad to help you. But particularly within a specific pathway, these are the professors who have volunteered to serve as advisors. There's more too. Our reference librarians are an incredible resource that a lot of students don't take full advantage of. And the reference librarian who specializes within this area will be listed. So for example, for commercial law, Ashley Chase is the reference librarian. Any student organizations within this area will be listed with a link to that student organization's website. We also have professional organizations, which can be very helpful for you if you're preparing for an interview, to read the literature out there and to know what organizations are involved. And particularly for that and preparing for interviews, we have connections to news and blogs that relate to each of these areas. Finally, we have a list of moot court and trial team and ADR competitions that we don't necessarily participate in any given year, but these are the competitions that we choose from, and we participate in just so many of these competitions. Now, if I go back for a moment, you're back on the Pathways webpage, and you'll see again all the different courses, the different pathways we have in the courses that are listed. There's an additional pathway that I want to draw your attention to, and that pathway is general practice and bar preparation. Why do I want to draw your attention to that? Well, There are certain courses that we think are basic foundational courses that everyone should at least consider and most students should take. These are not specifically bar preparation courses as much as courses that every lawyer should have. And so if you don't know what to take in a given semester, or you're ambivalent about a course to take in a given semester, we strongly recommend that you take a good look at the pathway for general practice and bar preparation. And you'll see courses like bankruptcy and business entities, commercial transactions, family law, trusts and estates, courses that we think are just rock solid foundations for successful practice in law. Anyway, that's the Stetson Navigator. We're really proud of it, and we hope you're going to get a lot out of it and learn more about the course catalog and the courses that you can take and how it can fit together to advance your career. Any questions, please let me know, and every faculty member is always waiting to help you choose your courses. Thanks a lot, and we'll be making a big announcement when the final version of this is available to all students.
Well, thanks, Professor Brower, and thanks for all the hard work that you've put together on that program. I think you'll really find it to be incredibly useful. And we welcome your feedback, by the way. If there are things that we can do better on that pathway program, which is evolving, please let us know. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Felicia McCaster, the College of Law Registrar, who will describe a little bit about the bidding process here.
Thank you, Dean Allen. So you've had the opportunity to listen to Dean Allen talk about the curriculum and its offerings and sequencing of. You've listened to Professor Finch as he's discussed bar prep courses, and you've also had the opportunity to listen to Professor Batt as she talks about externships and clinics. So what my goal and objective is to try to tie all of this in with how to get into these classes that you're trying to bid for. Stetson currently allows students to request courses by priority through Banner, and that's also what we refer to as bidding. Priorities for these students are established in Banner based upon the anticipated degree date. So I want to put a plug here also to make sure that you go out in Banner and check your anticipated degree date to make sure that that's accurate, because that is one of the things that the system will look for with regard to your priority. So for example, by using this system, it assures that upcoming May and August graduates will have the first priority for spring classes. It then looks at the next graduating group and so on and so forth. So for day students, you have priority for day classes based upon your graduation date, and part-time students have priority for evening classes. Another advantage to this system is that it allows us to look at the enrollment numbers before the system actually enrolls you in those courses. So for example, if there's a lecture class that is substantially oversubscribed, we have the opportunity to see if maybe there's a larger room that we can move that class in so that we can increase the enrollment if possible, because we do want to make sure that for those courses that we can get as many students in those classes as needed. And if there's a smaller class that's oversubscribed, sometimes we're able to contact the faculty member to see if they would allow to expand for enrollment, but that's basically between Dean Allen and that faculty member. But what we would do is we would let you know if we're able to increase the enrollment numbers for those classes. We work very closely with Associate Dean Mike Allen to determine if more sections are needed in particular specialties. The Associate Dean makes every attempt to add sections if faculty are available to teach them. Once all of these checks have been completed and the enrollment maximum and classroom assignments have been adjusted, then that's when the system assigns each student into these classes. So for instance, that's when bidding takes place. So the system randomly, and please make sure that you understand that it's randomly, because a few minutes ago when I said that we have the opportunity to look at certain enrollment numbers, we're not going in and moving any students around in any way. This is all done random. So I don't want you guys to think that we're taking students and moving them around in places. That is not what happens, because there's certain students that think that happens, but it doesn't. It is a random system. So at that point, the system takes over. The students are randomly placed in their courses, And there may be times when you did not receive any of the classes that you bid for. So that's why it's important to take the priority system seriously. For instance, if you're a 2L and you're basically trying to bid for a lot of smaller, lower enrollment classes that are pretty much going to be designed for 3L students, don't waste a lot of your bids trying to get into those courses, because again, the system is looking at the anticipated grad date. So for those May and August graduates for spring 2016, they're pretty much going to get those bids. So it's okay to bid for some of them, but don't waste your bids on a lot of the limited enrollment courses that are pretty much designed for the 3L students, because we do want to make sure that you are able to get in most of the courses that you're bidding for. I want to also talk about some best practices with regard to bidding. Earlier it was mentioned trial advocacy, the tethered trial ad and evidence. The important thing to remember there is there will be multiple sections of the small sections of trial ad, and there's one large section of evidence, tethered evidence. It's important that you place your highest bid for the small section of trial ad. If you get into the small section of trial ad, you're going to be added into the evidence section. Yes, you still have to bid for evidence, but if you do go ahead and you place your higher bid for the tethered trial ad section, you're going to be placed into evidence. Prioritizing your bids. It is important that you prioritize your bid. For example, if you put business entities as your first priority and your classmate who is graduating with this upcoming class places it, say, as his third or fourth priority, more than likely you'll be able to get into that course. Why? Because you had it at a higher priority over someone that may be graduating first, but they placed it in a lower category. So if you're a 2L and you place business entities as your first priority, you're more than likely going to get that course over someone that would be graduating. Another thing to look at in prioritizing is the maximum size of the course. If a course has a lower enrollment of 12, you may want to place the higher. You may want to prioritize higher versus lower. So this again is just reiterating what I said a few minutes ago. Look at the maximum sizes of the courses. For lower enrollment courses, place that priority higher. For larger lecture size classes, 50, 60, 70, if there's only one section of that course, you really want to then start trying to determine what's most important to you, which course do you want the most, and then look at your priority numbers. There may also be times where you go in and you change how you prioritize your bids. Always go back and make sure that that number, your priority number, reflects how you want your courses to be, how you want to receive those courses once the system has done its thing. So if you know you want business entities, you know you want that course, whether it's 70 or an enrollment of 12, make sure that you place that as your number one bid. If you're going to do a tethered evidence and trial ad, for me, I would place trial ad as my number one. I would place business entities as my number two, but I'm not going to place evidence, and that's going to be my very last priority bid. Because why? I'm going to get evidence, but I need to make sure that I get the small section of trial ad. If I don't get the small section of trial ad, I'm not going to get the tethered evidence and trial ad sections. I just needed to keep reiterating that, because that's where a lot of students sort of mess up with the bidding system. They think that they must get the evidence section first. Just make sure that you're bidding, placing your highest priority to the smaller section, which would be trial ad. With that being said, there's this opportunity for multiple sections of courses, so there'll be several sections of trial advocacy. You cannot bid for multiple sections. You can only place a bid for one. So one of the things you want to look at is where the course is going to be held, whether it be in Gulfport or Tampa, the time of day that the course is going to be held, and we do have a couple of tethered trial ad sections that are 2 days a week versus 1 day a week. So those are things that you want to take into consideration when you're thinking of the overall scheme of what your schedule is going to look like. So if you know that you can do 2 days a week and you can add that in with the rest of your courses, Professor Demers is one that he teaches his tethered trial ad 2 nights a week. However, we have several professors that teach the tethered trial ad 1 night a week. So again, that's one of those that you would want to place as a higher priority because you want to make sure that you get the small section of trial advocacy. I also want to talk about how bidding works with concentrations. Students in concentrations will receive priority for their mandatory courses. However, they do not receive priority for any of the electives. So we do our very best to make sure that if you're in a concentration, we do our very best to make sure that you do get your mandatory courses, but again, not for the electives. The system grants priorities to students who are nearing graduation, and it also allows us time to look at what is needed in terms of courses and classroom space. So to sum all of that up, it's just fair to say that this is the best system that we have in place right now. It has been working. If you have any questions between now and once we start bidding, please make sure that you stop by the registrar's office and ask those, because we do want to make sure that you make the most out of this bidding system. And I want to say one last thing, and it's with regard to waitlisting. Currently, we have a system that we will be changing, and it's possible that it's going to take place before bidding starts. So currently, the process is partially electronic and partially manual. Students may add or drop themselves from a wait list through Banner, but only the registrar's office can actually place you in the class. This is something that we're changing. Again, like I said, we would send you notification, but it's possible that we're going to allow the system to use the wait list so that you'll know. I think currently it may take you 3 to 4 days before you know if you've been removed from a wait list. We're now going to go all electronic, and what's going to happen is you will receive an email notification letting you know that you have 48 hours to go out and make the change. An email will come and say, congratulations, you're up for a class that you've been waitlisted for. You have 48 hours to go out and make a change in Banner. Go out and make all of those changes. You go out and remove the class that you don't want. You add the course that you want, and it's done. You are now in the course that you wanted, as opposed to what you currently have to do now, which is notify our office, and then you have to wait until we're able to make that change. So this is a positive. One of the things that we're happy to say, we're moving in a positive direction for the student, because once you've made that change, it's live time. You know that the course, you know that you're no longer on the wait list. You have been enrolled in the course. So just continue. We'll send an email out, but just continue to watch out for that, because that's something that we're very happy to launch for you.
And so, Felicia, when does bidding start for the spring?
Bidding will probably start the very next day after we have our academic advising sessions.
So that's somewhere around the 21st.
That is correct.
And so we've had a couple of questions come in that I just want to touch on. But before I do, I want to give you the last letter. Our last letter is J, as in justice. And so that's going to round out how you show that you've actually been part of this. Before I answer those questions in our last minute or two here, I do want to just underscore something that Felicia said. We are really all here to help you. So if you have technical questions about bidding and how that works and the strategy of what comes first versus second, go and talk to the folks in the registrar's office. They're fantastic. If you've got questions about your academic advising, you can feel free to come and meet with me. You can meet with Professor Batt, Professor Finch, the folks in the registrar's office. It is much better for you to do that ahead of time than to wait and say, if only I would have told them that the horse was, that the horse was in the barn and the barn door was open first. A couple of, just to answer your questions, if you have, one of the questions is that somebody recently converted from part-time to full-time, will they be able to bid for 17 credits? Yes.
No.
If they are a part-time student, if they've converted to full-time, wouldn't they be able to?
If they are recently converted from part-time to full-time, unfortunately, they will still have their maximum credits at 11. So they will register for their maximum and then email the registrar's office, and then we will be able to place them in the additional courses.
So, but the important point here is you can take up to 17 credits.
Yes.
But you're not going to be able to do it electronically.
That is correct.
Okay, so
that is correct.
Now here's also something. Let me cut this off at the pass. If you are a full-time student, there is no circumstance in which I can let you take 18 credits. If you're in the MBA program, there is a little room, but if you're not, this is one of the easy decisions for me because it's an ABA rule that I cannot avoid. So no matter how strongly you ask me to take 18 credits, the answer is no. So that's very important. Last point before we go here today is, when will you see a summer schedule? And the answer is hopefully soon, but let me just tell you what the summer schedule is like. Right? If you're looking for a mini fall or spring schedule with lots of substantive classes, the summer schedule will not be for you. The summer schedule will be focused largely, as it has been for the last 2 years, largely on experiential learning classes, clinics, externships, and simulation-based classes such as interviewing, counseling, negotiation, mediation. There will be some substantive classes, maybe a Florida criminal procedure or something like that, a Florida administrative law. But the summer semester will not be packed with the substantive courses that are going to be satisfying administrative law requirements, code requirements. So please do not rely on the summer schedule as being the way in which you're going to satisfy those requirements, because it's not. The theory of the summer semester is going to be focused largely on experiential and simulation-based learning, as it has been. So I want to thank all of the people who took time out to sit down and talk to you about this. I also want to thank the people behind the scenes, Stan Arthur, who made them look really good. I look the way I normally do. And I want to thank particularly Joanne Burnett in the Career Development Office, who was a major force behind the scenes in putting this together. And so along the way, and I want to thank the Assistant Director of Clinics and Internships, or Clinical Education, Trista Miller. And I want to end with this. We are here doing all of this to be of assistance to you. If there are different things that we can do to help you out as you enter into the course bidding process, we want you to do that. And we really do encourage you to attend the session on the 19th, October 19th, from 11:30 to 1, or October 20th from 4:30 to 6:30, so that you can learn more about this. So thanks very much, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks.